The little village of Willow Creek was buzzing with excitement. Today was a very special day indeed. Sarah, who everyone knew from the village bakery, was getting married to Tom, the kind farmer. Brightly coloured ribbons fluttered from lampposts, and pots of cheerful flowers lined the path to the little white church. Children giggled and chased each other down the cobblestone streets, their parents busy with last-minute preparations. The sun shone brightly in a clear blue sky, as if it too was excited for the happy occasion. Everyone agreed it was the perfect day for a wedding, a truly wonderful day for Sarah and Tom to start their new life together. Sarah's house was a hive of activity, much like a busy beehive in springtime. Her mother, Mrs. Gable, was carefully arranging a beautiful bouquet of roses and lilies on the kitchen table. Her father, Mr. Gable, was trying to tie his bow tie, looking quite serious in the hallway mirror. Sarah's younger sister, Lily, who was 7 years old and very observant, watched everything with wide eyes. Lily was going to be a flower girl, and she had a brand new dress that swished when she walked. She thought weddings were the most exciting thing in the whole wide world, even more exciting than getting a new puppy. The delicious smell of freshly baked cake wafted from Mrs. Gable's kitchen, mixing with the sweet scent of the flowers. Aunt Mary had arrived early, carrying a large mysterious box tied with a big satin bow, which Lily suspected held an extra special wedding cake. Neighbours popped in and out, offering good wishes and small wrapped gifts. The happy sounds of laughter and cheerful chatter filled every room of the house. It felt like a party even before the real party had begun. Lily thought this was much better than a regular Saturday morning, even though Saturday mornings usually meant cartoons and pancakes, which were also very good things. Sarah looked beautiful, even in her simple dressing gown as she hummed a happy tune. She was going to wear her mother's wedding dress, which had been carefully stored away. But even more special than the dress was the ring she was going to wear. It wasn't just any ring, it was a very old ring, a ring that had been in their family for many, many years. It had belonged to her Grandma Elsie, and it sparkled with tiny twinkling diamonds. Sarah couldn't wait to put it on, to feel that connection to her beloved grandmother on this most important day of her life. Grandma Elsie's ring was more than just pretty, it was a piece of family history, a tiny circle of gold that held so many memories. Grandma Elsie had worn it every single day of her married life, and she had told Sarah stories about it when Sarah was a little girl, just like Lily. The ring had a small, delicate flower pattern carved into the gold, and the diamonds, though small, seemed to dance in the light. Sarah treasured it more than anything. She knew wearing it would make her feel like Grandma Elsie was right there with her, smiling and sharing her joy. It was a promise, a symbol of love, passed down through generations, a tiny link to the past. Just an hour before they needed to leave for the church, Sarah decided she wanted to look at the ring one more time. She carefully took the little velvet box from her dressing table. She opened it, and there it was, sparkling up at her. "Oh, it's so lovely," she whispered to herself, a happy tear welling in her eye. She thought she would just place it on the sunny windowsill for a moment, where the light made it look extra beautiful, while she finished getting her hair just right. She wanted Lily to see it sparkle too, knowing how much her little sister loved shiny things. It seemed like a perfectly safe spot for just a minute or two. But when Sarah turned back to the windowsill a few minutes later, her heart did a funny little flip, and then it sank like a stone in a pond. The little velvet box was there, still open, but the ring was gone! My ring! Sarah gasped, her voice barely a whisper. "It's gone! Grandma Elsie's ring is gone!" Panic started to bubble up inside her like fizzy lemonade shaken too hard. Her mother rushed in, hearing the distress in Sarah's voice. "What's wrong, dear?" Mrs. Gable asked, her face full of concern. When Sarah explained, Mrs. Gable's cheerful expression vanished, replaced by a worried frown. The news spread through the house like wildfire. "The ring is missing," Papa Gable exclaimed, his face growing pale. Uncle John, who had just arrived, stopped whistling his cheerful tune. Suddenly the happy, bustling house became a place of anxious whispers and frantic searching. "Everyone, look carefully," Papa Gable instructed, trying to keep his voice calm, though Lily could see his hands were trembling slightly. The wedding was so soon, and the most important ring, Grandma Elsie's precious ring, had vanished into thin air. How could this happen on such a happy day? It was a terrible, awful predicament. The search began immediately and with great urgency. Sarah, her eyes now red from unshed tears, looked under her dressing table, shaking out every piece of fabric. Mama Gable checked all the pockets of Sarah's dressing gown, then started looking through the drawers, pulling out neatly folded clothes. Papa Gable got down on his hands and knees, peering under the bed and behind the wardrobe, his brow furrowed in concentration. Uncle John, meanwhile, began retracing Sarah's steps, asking her exactly where she had been and what she had done. Lily tried to help too, looking in all the small places she could think of, like inside her dollhouse and behind the curtains, hoping she might be the one to find it. Word of the missing ring quickly trickled out of the Gable house and into the village. Mrs. Higgins, their kind next-door neighbour who was known for her sharp eyes, heard the commotion and came right over. "Oh, you poor dears!" she exclaimed, patting Sarah's arm sympathetically. "Don't you worry, we'll find it. I'll search the front garden. Maybe it rolled out an open window somehow." Even grumpy Mr. Grumbles from down the street, who usually complained about everything, offered a gruff, "Lost a ring, eh? Well, can't have a wedding without a ring. Suppose I could take a look around my prize-winning petunias, just in case." The whole village seemed to pause its wedding preparations to join the hunt. The search party fanned out, moving from the house into the sunny garden. They looked under rose bushes, their thorns catching on sleeves. They peered into flower pots, disturbing sleepy ladybugs. They sifted through the freshly cut grass, hoping to see a telltale glint of gold. Hope began to feel like a slippery fish, hard to hold on to. Sarah sat on the garden bench, her shoulders slumped, watching everyone search with a heavy heart. The minutes ticked by, each one feeling like an hour. The church bells would soon be ringing, and the thought of walking down the aisle without Grandma Elsie's ring was almost too much to bear. Lily felt a big lump in her throat watching her sister. Sarah looked so sad, and Lily wished with all her might that the ring would magically reappear. The grown-ups were all rushing about, looking very serious and a little bit cross. They seemed too busy and too worried to notice her small ideas. Lily remembered seeing something peculiar earlier that morning, something that hadn't seemed important at the time, but now a little thought started to wiggle in her mind. It was a tiny, almost forgotten detail, but perhaps, just perhaps, it could be a clue to the missing sparkle. Lily remembered that Henrietta, Mrs. Higgins' nosy white chicken, had been pecking around the Gables' garden earlier that morning. Henrietta was famous in Willow Creek for wandering wherever she pleased and for her love of anything shiny. Lily had even seen Henrietta fly up to the open windowsill, clucking curiously before Mrs. Higgins had shooed her away. Could Henrietta, the feathered explorer, have mistaken Grandma Elsie's sparkling ring for a shiny beetle or a particularly interesting crumb? The thought seemed a bit silly, but Henrietta was a very curious chicken, and Lily knew chickens sometimes picked up strange things in their beaks. Quietly, so as not to disturb the very serious grown-up search, Lily slipped out of the garden gate and tiptoed over to Mrs. Higgins's chicken coop. Henrietta was there, scratching in the dirt with her flockmates, clucking contentedly as if she didn't have a care in the world. Lily crouched down and watched Henrietta closely. The chicken strutted around, pecked at a stray feather, and then hopped into her messy nesting box, which was filled with straw and a few bits of colourful string Henrietta had collected. Lily held her breath, her eyes glued to the chicken in her nest. And then Lily saw it, tucked amongst the straw, glinting in a stray sunbeam that poked through the coop's dusty window, was something small and shiny. It was gold! It was Grandma Elsie's ring. Henrietta must have snatched it from the windowsill when no one was looking, thinking it was a wonderful new treasure for her nest. Lily's heart did a joyful leap. "I found it!" she shouted, carefully reaching into the nest and plucking the ring from the straw. Henrietta just blinked her beady eyes, perhaps a little annoyed at having her collection disturbed. The relief that washed over the Gable house, and indeed the whole village, was enormous. Sarah cried, but this time they were happy tears as she hugged Lily tightly. "Oh, Lily, you clever girl, you saved the day!" she exclaimed, slipping the precious ring onto her finger where it belonged. The wedding went on as planned, more joyful than ever. Sarah looked radiant, Tom couldn't stop smiling, and even Mr. Grumbles was seen cracking a small smile. As for Henrietta, she received a special treat of extra corn after the ceremony. Everyone agreed that Henrietta the chicken had certainly added an unexpected feathered twist to a day they would never ever forget.